Hello everyone, I Ketan Pethankar welcome you all to another episode of Neural Networking with Konverge AI. Today we are thrilled to be joined by Sergio De Leon, data scientist at DRYCO Construction. With over a decade of professional experience driving data innovation in the construction industry, he has been at the forefront of data and AI-led transformation. From architecting cost-efficient data warehouses to building AI-driven document processing pipelines, Sergio's work showcases how AI can effectively reshape construction workflows. I'm personally excited for this conversation to understand how we can practically leverage AI in construction from someone who has been hands-on in making it happen. Sergio, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Hey Sergio, so let's start with the first question that I have for you. Give us an overview of how the construction industry, since you have got this tons of experience working in this particular industry, is currently approaching data and AI, and where do you see the biggest gaps or opportunities today?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Kid. In my experience, for sure, AI is approaching us. There is no avoiding it now. It's here with us. But I think the biggest gaps and the biggest opportunities in the construction industry is the fact that our data lives in silos. We have multiple systems capturing mass amounts of data, and they live in silos. So that being said, I think having these silos of data to be trusted in some way so that we can leverage it and use it for with AI capabilities is probably the biggest impact that we can probably get at this point right now. That's what I would say.
Right. And also, so one thing is the data silos that you are talking about. But do you see this also as a trust or adoption problem with people moving forward?
Yeah. Well, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Exactly. What do you mean?
Yeah, so let's say that we always had this thing in the software industry where whenever there was a new kind of technology that came in and people built use cases on the adoption side for the new technology, then it took some time for people to get used to it. So something like Power BI, as simple as that. So when Power BI came into existence, it kind of democratized building the dashboards, right? Or Snowflake came into existence, it democratized building of the warehouses. When the cloud came in, people started moving applications to the cloud, be it any cloud, right? Be it AWS, Azure, or the private cloud. But if you see the adoption cycles, each of these technologies, they had some kind of a challenge from an adoption perspective, because it took some time for people to get to know the system, how did it work. And for example, in case of cloud, people wanted to know from the trust side of things where the data actually resided in. So do you see this happening also with the AI coming in?
Absolutely. When you start implementing AI, the stakeholders, some of it don't know how it's functioning in the back end. So it tends to be a black box. There is definitely an issue with the trust. And I think that's where a lot of expertise comes in, right? Establishing and implementing some type of data governance within your system so that people do have documentation to see how this data is being generated, gathered, and used for AI purposes. So definitely, trust is probably one of the biggest issues right now with data that's being gathered for AI purposes. I do see this as an issue.
Right. And anything that you have seen people also trying to do to mitigate these data silos and trust issues?
Yeah, I could speak for several companies that I've engaged with in the construction industry. Is for one thing is data lineage,
right?
Documenting the data lineage, a lot of documentation, but most importantly is data governance. That is what's happening right now to gain some trust in the data that's being used for these purposes. That's probably the biggest one I have seen at this point within the construction industry.
Right. Right, right. Got it. Now, moving forward, along with the data silos, I think one thing that any kind of software industry problem suffers is the legacy software, right? And it has been in existence since what you say nth number of years. And I've seen that a lot of construction companies still rely heavily on legacy software. So, from your perspective, how do you go about modernizing these systems so that they can be made ready for AI integration?
So this is an interesting question, and I think there's two parts to this. The first part is focused on the data. Is some of these legacy systems capture the data within the system, so it's very hard to modernize these systems and productionize modernization of the systems because of where the data lives. So releasing the data, making sure that these legacy systems have a way to release the data, whether it's through a data warehouse, through APIs, is key. That's the first step. That's the first step in upgrading these legacy systems. The second is taking some domain knowledge, understanding the business, what the business needs, because at the end of the day, it's not really the system or the tool. It's more, does it fit the business concept, right? And then capturing the data from the legacy system and migrating it to a modernized system is key. That's the approach that we have used. That is the approach that has been successful within this company. And I've worked with, I'm going to say, 2 other companies who are utilizing the same approach. I think that's key there.
Right. So one part is accessing the data from the legacy system. So, and another thing is having that strategy as an organization where you want to do a central data lake kind of a system versus a data mesh where you have different set of applications talking to each other. So, from a construction industry standpoint, what kind of adoptions do you see when it comes to pulling the data from the legacy systems or different modern data sources? Do you see people adopting the centralized way of storage versus the decentralized one?
No, definitely to a centralized type of storage. It's a very slow moving in the construction industry, so there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of expertise needed in this area. What I see is either larger companies seeing the value had in data for several purposes, whether it's to make faster decisions or to use and leverage artificial intelligence to help them make those decisions. But definitely in a centralized manner, either whether it's a data warehouse or a data lake. I see a lot of companies migrating to the Azure system and to the Snowflake system. Very little Databricks as of now, but I do see them dabbling in the Databricks for the machine learning and AI aspect of it. So to answer your question, the construction industry is starting to see the benefit of moving away from silos into a more cohesive system. And there is, to be honest with you, that is the way to go. That is the way to go, because companies who are moving in that direction and move faster than others are going to have a competitive advantage in the industry, for sure. I see it happening now with us, and I see it happening with other companies in construction.
Right, and that kind of makes sense as you are able to build the use cases faster. Also, once maybe you have the data at one place being brought together, so that you get a overall picture of the things that you are looking at from a business standpoint. So
absolutely,
yes. So when we talk about doing this, right, bringing all the data together, so where you encounter different tools and systems. So one being ERP, and in the construction industry, the other, I think, being the project scheduling tools. And project scheduling tools often don't align seamlessly with ERP systems, leading to disconnects between planning and execution. How do you see AI bridging this gap in a more practical way?
This is one of the benefits of, this is where AI excels, right? So you're right. especially in construction. We experienced that ourselves. Our ERP system did not talk to our scheduling system, and we had major gaps, right? Runovers, project delays. That's created. You're not going to avoid that if they do not talk to each other. What I see is AI making a big difference, and where companies can leverage artificial intelligence is to map these two together, to create a map to where our ERP system or a company's ERP system can understand the language of the scheduling board, and hence the scheduling board of the ERP system, and create a way for them to communicate with each other. Because at the end of the day, that's where value is had. We're adopting the strategy right now where we mirror our scheduling system to discuss or to talk to our ERP system and be in cohesive, if that makes sense. It's not just the scheduling system and the ERP system. There's also the CRM aspect of it. But yeah, definitely that is a good point you just brought up. Artificial intelligence will make a big impact here.
And just adding a follow-up question on this. So is this challenge only related to certain specific size or scale of the companies in construction, or it affects all the companies who are working in the construction industry, that they would have similar suite of softwares?
No, this is impacting all levels of the construction industry. I've talked and discussed these matters with companies at the $1 billion mark revenue size, all up to the few thousands. It's across the board. This is not a topic that is an issue at any level of construction. It's at all levels. So I mean, yeah. And then AI will make a difference if applied correctly.
Right. So what we are talking about, AI bridging the gap, is nothing but we are trying to modernize a legacy stack. So what are some of the steps or strategies you think work best so AI can be embedded without disrupting the ongoing work? Because you don't want to disrupt or you don't want to stall the work which is currently going on.
Yeah, you got to start slow. We use an approach called crawl, walk, run. You start very slow. You pick a project and you focus on that project from beginning to end to get some momentum, get some traction. You have to get, and this is one of the most important strategies, you got to get your stakeholders involved early, whether it's upgrading a legacy system or you changing the process to implement some type of artificial intelligence processes within your systems. You have to get your team involved early and involved in the decision-making process, because change management will hold you back if you don't do it correctly. That's going to be the biggest impact. That's going to be what makes your project fail if you do not do it correctly. I've noticed that when you get a team involved early in the decision-making process, they own it and they push forward with it. They help you get the project resolved because they feel part of it. If you leave them out, especially the stakeholders, they'll have a tendency to sabotage, maybe indirectly somehow, but sabotage it, which makes the project that much more complicated to accomplish. So strategy, get your stakeholders involved early, not just in having them understand what's happening, but also the decision-making process. Also start with one project, the crawl, walk, run approach. That's the strategies that I've seen work in this industry.
Thanks for giving us a framework to think about. Just adding another question on this part is, I think it is also important to identify the right use cases while you're trying to apply the crawl, walk, run approach and getting the stakeholders early buy-in. So is there any framework that you follow for that as well, for like use case identification and kind of like workshops you take or anything like you do?
So I hope I'm understanding this correctly, but yeah, there is. So we try to look for projects or something that's high impact.
Right.
And the highest impact that we can find, low hanging fruit. So something that wouldn't be too critical to start with, but that's going to have a high impact. And the reason why we pick that is because high impact is high visibility.
Right.
The team sees it. not just the team, but the either the executive team or the high level stakeholders, they see the impact it has. And if you're successful in that, they will stand behind you in decision making, and you can start choosing other projects to involve in that are probably more of a high stake, equal impact, or higher impact. But that's the framework we use, and it tends to work.
Right, right. So you should be always looking for that high impact, high visibility use cases. And another interesting point you said is that so it may not be too critical. That means at the beginning it may not be too critical, but then you have the long tail view of the things that, okay, this is where it is going to start giving you the value for, and in the time frame you're not also disturbing the processes. So just adding one more question on this is that people often think AI means full automation, but in reality humans are always part of the loop. So how do you see that balance working in construction, where automation needs human validation to make sure everything is accurate?
Yeah, to be quite honest, there is a lot of concern about not just automation, but AI replacing the human aspect of the work, right? And replacing humans. And I don't see that, especially in construction. I think there's a human need and a human element in every AI project or initiative that we engage in. And that's across the board, not just us, that's across the board in every company, whether it's quality checks, data governance, or some type of double analysis of the results coming out. And the reason I say that is because there is in this industry a lot of people that have high level of domain knowledge, not just in the business, but in construction. So the human element will never go away. There has to be some type of quality checks, some type of human element double checking the work that artificial intelligence is producing. We currently have several projects using artificial intelligence, AI, and in every single one, we have several human quality checks involved in it. Some of them at the beginning, some at the end, but always those with domain knowledge of the process or of our business. So yes, I do see the human element staying intact.
I want to ask another follow-up thing on this. Is so there is always this use case trap when you are doing AI, where if you don't align the use case based on the business process, then it may fail. Or sometimes you need to also, in order to make the use case successful, do certain changes in the business process. So do you see experience these kind of examples where based on the human in the loop feedback that you got, you needed to make a minor change here and there in the business process that kind of multiply the impact effect?
All the time. That is, you cannot avoid that. Anytime you implement AI or inject some kind of artificial intelligence within processes, you have to change, make modifications to the process. That's inevitable. And that's where change management comes into place. I'll give you a good example of this. We have AI implemented in one of our use cases where we used to have a person manually input data into our ERP system. Now we have AI injecting that data directly into our ERP system. So the process changed. That person that was manually doing the input into the ERP system manually is now the quality check person. Their job now is to make sure that AI is gathering the data that's going to inject into our ERP system accurately. Sometimes it doesn't, and they have to go in there and make some modifications in order for it to upload it into our ERP system accurately. So they went from a manual input of person to quality check person, if that makes sense. Right. So the process must change to optimize the system.
Right. So another theme that I'm observing is that maybe you can also find out the mundane tasks that your team wants to delegate or automate it to a certain extent to AI, so that in the value chain, now the human is placed at a strategic level for the decision making.
That's absolutely correct. That's the goal. That is always the goal. And I can't emphasize more or enough the aspect of having a proper and intelligent change management system in place to make this happen.
Right, right. So let's now talk about the use cases, right? So if we think about construction specifically, there are so many possible use cases: safety, reading digital plans, large language models, or even assistance for workers on the ground. Which of these do you find the most impactful? Have you tried them? What has been your experience, and how much scalable do you think they are?
Yeah, I think most impactful has been the manual input of data, just like we have discussed. This is probably has been the most impactful because it has proven to save us time, and time in this is money. We're able to do things much faster with AI than we were before because a lot of this we have artificial intelligence doing the mundane and manual work in especially grabbing data from documents and uploading them to either ERPs or scheduling or CRMs. That has been the most impactful for us. I would say two is the scheduling aspect of like scheduling jobs and understanding where there's going to be project delays. Having AI gather data, whether it's weather data or some type of other information that's going to possibly cause some delays in our scheduling, that has also been impactful because we are able now to get in front of it before it happens, when before we were more reactive to the situation. Three, I'm going to say safety. Safety is highly impactful, and especially in our system. Then we're not just seeing it with us, we're seeing it across the board here in the Bay Area. A lot of companies are using AI now to gather safety information and get in front of it. So those are the three that I see the most highly impactful.
Highly impactful. Okay. And I see that there is a lot of integration component and a build versus buy thing in all these use cases you look at.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I was saying about build versus buy, where you kind of make that, okay, these are the things you are going to build. These are the things you're going to buy, like a platform or some kind of a product that you can buy and then integrate in the workflow that you are having.
That's going to be a case by case situation. Sometimes it's better to build straight out of the box for maintainability purposes if it's the company business model. If it does not, and a lot of times it won't, because a lot of these construction companies do run their business in a unique way. Build will always serve the purpose, right? You just understand that what you do not get when you build is most of the time, unless you do it right, is scalability. You're unable to scale as fast, and that could be a problem. You got to be really strategic when you make that decision whether to buy or build.
Right. But from an industry standpoint, from a construction industry standpoint, I think we always have that buy thing, because considering the softwares like Autodesk, no one gonna build it, but probably buy it and use it for the core business. Have you seen the more decision being going towards the buy versus the build, I guess?
Yes, it is definitely more the buy. The expertise to build is lacking in this industry. So yes, mostly it's buy and then fit into the process or change the process to fit the system. Definitely 80%, 85% buy.
Right. So in construction, still a lot of planning is based on projections. So what does a truly data-centric approach look like here, and how do you see ML changing the way decisions are made? How should companies approach purely data-centric decision making, especially when you are doing... So construction always, is on material forecasting, or it is about what kind of manpower you're going to require from a forecasting perspective, or if you are even responding to an RFP, then you need to have certain past data understanding in order to build a response for that.
Yeah, the first thing for this question is going to be, this is how I'm going to answer it. You have to trust your data. You have to have a system where it captures the data and creates the data accurately. So there has to be a lot of data governance. It all starts with the data. One source of truth, and there has to be trusted data. Once you get this situated within a company, then you can move on. The rest comes pretty fast. The machine learning taps into the data. So it all starts and it all ends with the data. You have to make sure there's proper data governance in place. The models are properly aligned with your business. And most importantly, I think that you have to have a source of truth, that everybody within the company understands that this is the source of truth and this is where we're tracking the data from, so that the metrics make sense to everybody across the business. Then you apply machine learning into this type of data and these metrics. I do see big changes coming, and I do see that machine learning is going to take a bigger step into making projections, not just in capacity building, but also in forecasting and in the budgets and in revenue. We're starting to implement that. We started with just the annual revenue, machine learning algorithms to predict this. And then we moved on to cyclical months over months, and we're able to now predict how much capacity, manpower we need to have at each stage of the year for the projects that are coming. So definitely, but it all starts with how trusted your data is and how good it is. If it's at the gold standard and everybody agrees, then the rest comes pretty fast.
And how much time, from an average time frame perspective in the construction industry, it takes to have that gold standard, which is agreed.
Well, then it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Most of the data in construction is in silos, right? Because the systems are in silos. And that's where you have to be strategic and have expertise, whether it's discussing it with consultants or somebody that knows what it takes. They've done it before, and specifically in the construction industry, to create that source of truth, that one hub where all data comes in and is curated, right? And it coming inside a bronze layer. Then it developed into the silver, where you're actually creating the metrics, so that the standard, the goal that was used for the machine learning and the AI aspect of it. So how long? Well, that's case by case. That's different in every single company. It depends how much data you have, right? Some can get very complicated. It took us to get where we're at. We're not completely done yet, right? But to get where we're at, it took us, I'm going to say, 2 to 3 years of strategic thinking and implementation, right? So, I mean, we could have did it a lot faster. We would have had a company such as you guys to help us, but we didn't tap into it till the aftermath. It would have been done a lot faster if we had consultants involved.
Right. But I think that's the maturity cycle is somewhere around 12 to 16 months, kind of a thing is what
that's about correct, right?
Yeah, 12 to 16
That's about
months,
right,
I think. So yes, that's my next question is about the same thread that we are talking about, that you have also worked on creating data warehouses in this 2 to 3 years period that you mentioned, and build some very efficient data pipelines for solving business problems. So what are some lessons from that journey that you think could help industries like construction that are just beginning to adopt and use data for decision making?
For construction specific, a strategy is, I would think, is to have the right people helping you build these out. There's a lot of things that as you're planning, which is the most important phase, are missed. Some people want to move too fast, and you miss a lot of things that'll come up later on. And it's hard once you start the project to roll it back. I'll give you an example. Slow changing dimensions within our data warehouse. We didn't take that into consideration until after the fact. But we had to roll some of the project back, which delayed our project, I'm going to say, about 3 months. So the strategy and for advice is going to be, think the plan through correctly. Get people involved that know what they're doing. They can have a strategic mindset and know the domain and your business model, and then start planning before you start implementing. Another strategy, it's not just the data warehouse. We thought that all our data was structured and it fits perfectly within a data warehouse. It's not true. Data lake is much more needed in construction because you have pictures, you have documentation that is in PDFs, you have project plans, all of that. It's in the data lake, which is very hard to fit in a structured format, right? So implementing a data lake instead of a data warehouse is probably a little bit more strategic if you plan to use that data, and which you should. And then never forget the expertise, whether it's in-house or consultants helping you get this expertise in the planning phase. That's my recommendation to any company starting any of this initiative.
Yes, so I think what you are necessarily saying is that a drawing board has, because he's talking about construction, the drafting plan and the drawing board needs to needs to be perfect.
It fits, right? Hey, so anybody in the construction field is going to understand that. Yes, you have to have the project plan first, right?
The project plan first for that. Yes. Hey,
absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Sergio, for spending the Friday morning with us. I think this was very insightful. We talked about the challenges of the data silos that you need to trust on. Then we went upon your journey that it takes. It took you like 2 to 3 years to get that gold standard in, and then we talked about construction as an industry, about different systems which exist there, one being the scheduling system, the CRM systems, and how the ERP system and how the scheduling system needs to talk to the ERP system, and where the AI comes into picture is bridging that gap, and then having that value chain of use cases across from right from forecasting to some of the use cases of like you mentioned in your case, it was quality of data that you are looking at, and having that input, automated input in the system, storage system that you have built, and then we kind of talked about the framework, right? The crawl, walk, run approach of how do you go about executing, bringing your stakeholders early. So this was a very holistic discussion, I think, which was very helpful, that you shared from your experiences, and very thankful to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love being part of this. And that's a great way to summarize it. You're absolutely right. I appreciate you having me on board and having me on this podcast.
Thanks a lot. The pleasure is ours. Thank you. Thanks a lot.